Thank you for attending today's program. The AIAOC Women in Architecture Committee presents Mid-Career Momentum, Overcoming Licensure Hurdles. I'm Jeff Gill, the Executive Director for AIA Orange County. I know we have representatives from all across the nation here. Thank you so much for attending today. These first three slides are just requirements of the AIA that I need to review with you. You can see that AIA Orange County is the provider, and there's our course number, as well as our provider number, I should say, as well as the course number for today's program. By attending today, you will receive one AIA learning unit, and then, of course, today's date is listed as well. About this course, I'm going to go ahead and let you take a minute to read this. You have seen this when you registered. It's the same information. This really is going to be a great program today. It's very focused. And thank you. Thank you, Meghna, for coming up with the idea. And then for Amber and Sean and Veli and Nilu for being involved too. It's going to be a good time. And then finally, so we do have 10 days. I'm going to do my best to get these recorded tomorrow, but we do have 10 days to record the units. So don't be alarmed if you don't see it there, say next week. You can always reach out to me, and there's my email address. If, say, you get into the week of March 3rd and you don't see it yet. And again, I'm going to try and get that done. Also, if you want a certificate, email me. We don't issue them unless somebody actually needs them. I, for one, just put mine in a file, knowing that I have attended something, or I go to my member records. I don't typically have a certificate, but some people do like to have them, and I can issue those to you if you want. And I'm going to turn it over to Meghna to start the program.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Meghna Joshi, Chapter President for AI Orange County this year. Welcome to our event, Mid-Career Momentum, Overcoming Licensure Hurdles. Did you know that after 40, the number of architects pursuing licensure drops dramatically? Not because they don't want it, because life happens. Careers evolve, responsibilities pile up, parenting and caregiving needs us, and the idea of tackling exams on top of everything just feels overwhelming, sometimes even impossible. I know that feeling because I've been there. My licensure journey wasn't a straight road. It was full of stops, starts, doubt, exhaustion, and moments where I nearly gave up. I studied while I was actively parenting my girls. I hit pause whenever work took over. And at one point, when I rolled over from ARE 4.0 to 5.0, I lost almost all my credits to the rolling clock. And then the pandemic hit. That was a point where I really questioned if I would ever finish. But here is what I learned. Stopping isn't the same as quitting. You can step away for a while, but that doesn't mean you can't come back stronger. Licensure isn't just about the alphabet soup. It's about opening the doors, leveling the playing field, and proving to yourself that you belong. It's about finding your purpose, your calling, your why without barriers. And that's why we are here today. We have brought together 4 architects who have walked this path, who stopped, restarted, pushed through, and ultimately made it. If you have ever questioned whether it's too late, trust me, it's not. So now, to guide us through the conversation, I'm handing it over to our moderator, Nilu, who has just finished her AREs. Over to Nilu.
Thank you. Hi and welcome everybody. I still, to this moment, I can't think of I'm doing this. It's still not sitting. Thank you so much, Meghna. After the great start, I'm like, oh gosh, you said all the good things. But I wanted to thank you. Thank you for giving me this moment to finally feel that it's done and I can talk about it with other people. A good friend of mine a while ago said, I can't wait for you to share your story. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for it. And you just made it happen. I really appreciate it. So today we have great panelists, Amber, Veli, and Sean with me. And we're gonna go over some questions and talk about our stories. But I'm gonna just start it with mine, and then I'm gonna hand it over to them to talk and introduce themselves. So let's start with me. So as I said, this is a topic that is still like a little bit hard for me to talk about, but I'm here and I'm so happy that I can talk to you guys about it first. I thought it's a really good topic because normally don't, when we're talking about these things, we don't talk about our struggles. We don't talk about our obstacles, but this is a good way to think about it. So I was running the AIAOC study group for a while, and I connected to a lot of people who were in their mid-career and they were motivated to start the AREs, but they didn't know how to start it. So I'm going to quickly introduce myself first and talk about my story. My name is Nilu, as Meghna said. I am the Director of Healthcare at AIAOC and previously served at the board as an emerging professional director since 2019. I'm a healthcare planner at Canon Design and currently working on a large project, Mayo project, and but I have previously worked on retail, commercial, and multifamily. So my story with AIA started back in 2017 when I started to think about AREs, and I started it in 4.0. I took a test and I found it, I can't do this alone. I needed to have a company. So I reached out to Jeff and like right away, he's like, yeah, sure. We're looking for someone to run our study groups. And I'm like, okay, why not? And I started it. I put a schedule together and helped a lot of people to get their license. And, I came across a lot of people in that process, which was great. But I couldn't do it myself. I was stuck still. In this process, I changed jobs. I, had a major surgery. I moved a lot and, things didn't really work out for me. So I started taking a couple of them, and 4.0, it didn't help me. And then I just decided to move on to 5.0. And that was when I passed my first PCM test in for 5.0. And it was 2019 at at the end of the year, and right there, COVID hit. So jobs went on hold. Test centers were closed, and I was just like, okay. At that time, I had actually started the healthcare committee with AIA, and I decided to work on my own. So during the year of test centers are closed, I'm running my own business, also taking care of the healthcare committee. I'm very busy with that. So that was a good break for me to just not think about it. And then right when 2020 test centers opened and I took my second one and I passed that, then I was stuck with CE. I could not just pass that. Online test centers, online testing was not very helpful. It was a lot of issues with it. One of the tests, I remember I sat there for 7 hours in my room. I couldn't go out. The proctor was not responding. And I'm like, okay, I lost my whole NCARB thing because I'm it was just not happening. And all those were breakdowns of am I gonna even finish this or not? But I still stick into it, and I kind of managed it. Again, we moved. Again, someone from the healthcare committee reached out to me, and she's like, you need to get back to healthcare. And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't sure, but then she convinced me. So I joined back the office life again. And I started working on at Canon Design. I was still like, struggling. So I joined the boot camp and I thought, oh, that's gonna just like do the magic and I'm gonna pass all of them right now. I had to change my style, my lifestyle. It's not like, nobody's gonna do the magic for you. It's you that you have to find your path and you have to find what's helping you. So I did it for a couple of months and I was like, you know what? I've been doing it for so long. I haven't taken any real break from like seeing my books. I put all my books, all my notes, everything that reminded me of AREs away for 4 months, like straight. I enjoyed my holidays. I did like, I needed that mental break. So I took, I think that was the great thing. And I realized that I have no boundaries for with my family, with my friends, with my work, with my all the things that I'm doing. So I started to say no to things that I knew it's not helping me to pass my AREs. And that helped me to just like stick into it and do it. I bought all the reference books. I can't say enough of how those reference books helped me, other than like, all the third-party materials that are around. And I just did study for, like 2 months, and then I started taking PPD, I passed it, then I took PA, I passed it, then I took PDD and I passed it. So at the end of my story, I want to say, find your boundaries. And I want to say that, you can do it. You just need to find what helps you. And, don't think of story of who does it. And I have to like, follow it and I'll pass it. With that, I want to actually introduce Amber, Sean, and Veli, and I would love them to introduce themselves and start with their stories. I will give it to Amber.
Hello, my name is Amber Perry. I'm an architect. Never thought I'd be able to say that. I started my journey in the 90s. I graduated. I'm part of the 33% that went a different direction and went into working for manufacturers, and then I worked for design builders, and I started volunteering with the AIA Women in Architecture in 2016. And one of the ladies that was there was actually the president of the Texas Board of Architectural Examiners. And she told me, I'm going to do a study group just for women that graduated in the 90s from A&M. I go, okay, yes ma'am, I'll be there. I wasn't brave enough to tell her no. So I started going to this study group and I thought, well, okay, I guess we'll start this. And I talked to my boss at the time and did 4 years of AXP. And then I started taking my tests. So that took me 9 months to get through all of them. But I highly encourage people to study to the test, do some practice tests, see what's on there. There's no way you're ever going to learn everything that you need to know for every test. It's just not possible. So take some practice tests, try them, put it away, pull it out again next weekend, try it again, try it for several weeks, do the NCARB test, do all of those. That's what helped me the most, was being able to do practice exams and set them aside and do them again. And then the 2 days before I took my test, I would take them on a Monday. I would take 12 to 13 hours and just do all the old tests I could get my hands on, cram all the information in there, and then Monday go take my test and spit it all out. And I guess it worked because I only had to take 6 of them. So that being said, I think it's certainly a doable thing for a lot of people. I think there are many more people that can accomplish it. And once you start having that thought in your mind that, you know what, I just need to take this test, take them one at a time. You know, just look forward to this test. Okay, I need to pass project management. That's all I'm gonna focus on. I'm not thinking about the other 5. I'm just gonna do this one. Take them one at a time. And they'll, before you know it, you'll be finished with them. So with that, I will pass it over to Nilu, right? Back.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for sharing. That's an amazing story, and you know how you had the plan from the beginning, and you just like moved forward with it. That's amazing. Sean.
Hi, my name's Sean Bowers. I'm currently working in MG2. I forget about the 40s. I'm in my 50s, and I'm in the middle of taking my tests. I have just over 30 years of experience working, doing multifamily, doing mixed use, doing high rise, doing any number of different project types, and really enjoyed all the different experiences I had. It exposed me to a variety of different codes, different construction types, different construction methodologies, different ways of approaching the initial design, all the planning and those things. And I think that anybody who's stuck with it through their 40s or even later in the industry, you can do the test, you could take the test. And it's, as I wrote on my notes, was watching Willy Wonka last night, and they were in the glass elevators, and light comes at you frontwise, sidewise, backwise. It's just going to happen, whether it's an oven that breaks down 3 days before Thanksgiving, or emergency surgery for one of your pets. It's going to come up. And the thing that I try to remember is you want to make sure that you don't stop. Those things will pass. Stay focused. What I found very helpful is there are so many different pathways to getting your licensure now. We have a wonderful person in our firm. Her name's Kat Hurd, and she is a NCARB licensure counselor. I believe I have that right. And they point out a whole number of different things that you can do on your path to getting licensed. And it is eye-opening. So you only have a 4-year degree. There are states out there that you can go ahead and take it. If you have enough AXP hours, you just graduated. You had a midlife crisis and you went from the stock market to architecture. You can start taking your AREs as soon as you graduate, and you gain your AXP at the same time you're taking your exam. You go to Wisconsin. There are 16 other states that allow you to do that right away. I will share some links through Meghna and the group so that they can put that forward to everyone so that you can get in contact. They have well over 500 of these NCARB licensure counselors, and you can reach out to them and they can help you. You can go to the NCARB website, and there's so much information. The other thing I wanted to talk about that's been very helpful for me is the fact that technology is really beneficial. My daughter, she's out there working right now. She's a caseworker at Virginia, University of Virginia. And she said, "Dad, you got to get to Quizlet." And that has been a godsend. Quizlet, you take the flashcard, you enter them in. You can do it while you're on a plane. You can do it in the car. And the reason you can do it in the car is, thank God for voice recognition. It'll read out the definition. You can respond back what it is. Take every moment. You may be tired from having meetings all day long and phone calls all day long. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to study, but you can watch the videos. So if you have Amber Book or you have Black Spectacle or whatever the case may be, you can watch some of the videos that are there, and they're very helpful. They have great organization for, what a 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day study period, and they lay it out for you, and you just need to find out. You're at this point in your career where you know yourself, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know when you should write a good email, what time of day that should be. So you know when is the best time to study. You know how to approach it. Don't let all the other distractions put you off. And the other thing I would say, the impetus for me was somebody who was a coworker who became a friend, and I have a number of those, but she started her own firm. And we would always call, and she'd ask me about code questions, and I'd ask her about certain things. And she finally turned around and said, you know more than most people, you need to take your exam. What in the hell are you doing? And bless her. She's a wonderful person. And she calls me every so often, and she wrote one of my letters, recommendation letters to the state of Maryland for my test. And we talk about work. We talk about tests. She talks about how much she hated the land planning civil portion of her test and how she didn't pass that the first time. But you know what? She kept going, and you can keep going, and you'll get there. So with that, I hope by the end of this year, if things don't pop up, that I will be able to join the ranks and say that I'm an architect as well.
Yes, you will. Thank you for sharing your story, Sean. Veli.
Hi guys, thank you for joining us today. So I'm Belly. I work for a big multifamily firm, and my story is very long and zigzaggy too. But first, I want to say something that Sean said, that's kind of been the basis of my mantra for those of us that are, I don't know how many of you guys are actually middle-aged or have been thrown off by the mommy curve, but if you're all later in your career and you know how much you know and people can see it, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to get the license, get that badge of honor. You've made it this far in this hard profession. Think about what we go through every day with clients, with not really being paid as much as we're worth. It's just a ton of things. You got to be either crazy or absolutely love it to stick with it, right? So you've made it this far. Now get that license done. So, and I developed this attitude very recently, I'll be honest. I have two different answers for people when they ask me how long it took me. One of them is 18 years. The other one is 2.5 years. And what's different is how my mindset changed of why I'm doing it in these last 2-3 years. So anyway, so I first started with the 3.0 version shortly after I graduated from school. 3.0 was very different. There were 9 exams. They were very similar to school finals, and I was knocking them out. I was like, oh, that's, I'll get it done. I'll finish them eventually. I got 5 of them done in, I think it was 2005 or 06. But there was no subs. I'll be honest. I was kind of not really understanding the reason for it. I was working for a very famous architect that it was great, but there was no emphasis on, get these steps through your career, get your AXPs. It was one of those, you're lucky to be working here because we're a very big name. And, there were a lot of wonderful things there. Don't get me wrong, but it was never on my mind. And then, so you have to take it seriously. You have to really know why you want it. And then that will fuel your engine to keep going. So I didn't have that in 06. So, and I was very silly to think, I'll just get it done someday. They were pretty easy. And I really think they were. Back then, it would be like, the questions would be like, what is this? Corinthian, Roman, or Ionic? Check. Now the questions are like, do you know what I'm actually asking you? There's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. And I found a lot of value in that, by the way, but that's another topic. You're being tested as, we run into this at work. Like, do you know what this email just asked you to do? Or do you know what this planner is asking you? Where's the keyword? So these exams now, 5.0, although I believe they've gotten harder, they have so much more substance as far as, and I think, if I'm not wrong, the statistics is that actually more of the people with more experience pass easier than the whole age group has actually shifted. So I know there aren't enough people getting licensed after 30, but I think the age has shifted and the experience does have its weight. So anyway, back to my timeline. So, I'm continuing through the profession, working as a designer, then moved to Orange County from Los Angeles because salaries were huge here compared to there. And then the recession hit. And I'm also in multifamily, and you know what that was like, Sean. There was no work, I mean, for 5 years straight. And I had a baby, and my husband went through cancer. And so I found work. It wasn't architecture, it was graphic design. I actually found a lot of good like freelance work, and it was going so well that I completely exited architecture. I mean, I kind of opened my own business. It was design consulting, it was branding and logos and identity. And it's like I was loving it because the pay was there. I was in my pajamas and kept going. Kind of the back of my mind was like, well, I did go to architecture school. I did want to be an architect. 7 years later, my kids are now older, and I decided, okay, I really do. Oh, my turning point for that was one day I was designing something for a tobacco company where they were asking me to put this barely dressed woman smoking, and like it was like very design this and give it to us in the morning. And I was designing, and they were paying me well. And my daughter walks in and she sees that on the screen, and she's like, oh, I thought you design houses. I thought you used to draw houses. And that threw me off and got me really sad, got me back into, okay, I got to do this. So I got back another multifamily group. And it's like, okay, I have a good track record. I can get back to this and pass these exams the way I passed them before. So from 06 to 2018 was when I actually finally started taking them again. And it was like, fail, 3 fails in a row. I was like, what happened? This is just way harder now. I know so much more. Why is this so much harder? Same as Nilo, I joined boot camp briefly. It was good. I think that was my turning point. This guy's amazing. He kind of just does a little psychology on your brain, like, you need this. Do you want this or do you not want this? And he puts you through these like brainstorming. He'll even say things like, maybe this isn't for you. I mean, really sit down and think about it. Maybe this isn't for you, because it is a lot of hard work. So I was like, no, it's for me. It's for me. I want to do it. So that helped me as far as the mindset. But one thing, and you guys always pay attention to, people say, like Neil loves study groups, right? Study groups, videos, visuals, not the same for everybody. I have to be honest, I did not do well with study groups. I had to be in an isolated little corner, don't talk to me, put headphones at just like nothing around me. Nobody even tried to talk to me. And that's it. And it just took me a while to figure out that that's how I want to do it. So figure out what works. It's not always going to be study groups. It's not going to be always audios. So anyway, I was a lone studier, unlike Neil, although we did do some study sessions with you, I have to say, where she used to start them with yoga. That was great. That was great, because you do have to put yourself in a different place, in a different mindset. So that was one thing, figuring out what works for me as far as study strategy. And then after I finally passed a few exams I was getting there, I was seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I ran into another roadblock because I don't do enough details. And so all exams that needed that, including construction evaluation, because I think it's a professional practice exam, but and I was literally, every time I failed it, I would see my score. I passed everything that had to do with the contract, the stuff you get out of the books, the stuff that you can, academically process, but I haven't walked job sites. So I didn't know what pictures they're showing me on these exams, to the point that just, okay, I got to stop and redirect myself. I was really short on my construction evaluation hours here, trying to get them, I got all my hours here with this company, but construction evaluation, it just wasn't happening. I wasn't doing that. I'm very front end. I'm design and business development. It's very front end. So it was hard. Right then I decided to go volunteer for Habitat for Humanity and started building. I'm a construction volunteer still. I got my hours done and I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing this. This is a great workout. And so we were nailing seismic straps one time and then cutting the trim of the windows. So we were doing this little craftsman house. And I was like, oh my God, I'm actually touching the details. I'm not drawing them. These seismic straps are so exciting that I went home and started Googling stuff that I would never normally Google. And so that's another really big advice I could give you, is develop a childlike curiosity. Like, be excited about the most ridiculous things and just Google. It pours information, like glues everything together in your head. So don't just do books. Google stuff out of sheer curiosity. It's amazing how much you can learn that way. And that's it. And so 2021 was the big push. And then finally, the pandemic did throw me off, just like Nilu, but I did arrive at the finish point at the age of 51. Woohoo! So, and then it was kind of, I just passed these 6 exams. Now I still can't call myself an architect because I'm in California. So then I hurried up and did that. That one's easy for you guys in California compared to everything else. That one's easy. So my biggest point is do it because you owe it to yourself if you've been in the profession for a while.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That was so great. I'm just like, taking in all the great stories that you guys have, and sharing it is another level, and you guys are amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I have to touch point on what you said about researching. I think one of the moments that you start like being curious about what that question is, what that detail means, and you want to touch it and you want to actually know more about it, is when you're really ready to, take that test and really enjoy it, instead of just like, oh, I want to pass it. You need to enjoy it.
Yeah, you got to find a way to enjoy it. Almost
Yeah.
like become obsessed with it. Yep.
Yeah. One of my great things to do is like going to Lowe's or like Home Depot and just like start touching those wood or like, whatever that's in the book. And I'm like, oh, that's what it means. Yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing. So I know you guys may have some questions from the panelists, but I'm gonna ask just like, a few questions, just individual questions from everybody. And then I'm gonna open up the stage for you guys to just like put your questions in the chat or just share it. We would love to have the conversation. So if you could just go off camera and talk to us, that would be great, but up to you. So I'm gonna start with Sean. So I loved actually hearing that your daughter helped you with Quizlet. That was amazing. It's just like, things that if you didn't study, you wouldn't even ask, you wouldn't even have that conversation with her. And like, that moment that, she gave that, she gave you that option and idea. That's great. So thanks for sharing that. I was also wanted to know, so you have kids, you have like, what all the things that is happening in life. I would love to ask you about like, the barriers that you have, and you still have to face, and how do you deal with it?
So the barriers I face, I think we all face, not the test itself. It's not the content. I mean, we do have to learn the content. It's a huge hurdle to overcome, but it's all the other distractions. And knowing that if I don't like to do one thing, I can do a different kind of studying. I try to at least do that. So um, if I don't want to watch videos, then I'll take a test or take a quiz. If I don't feel like that, I'll do the flashcards. And sometimes I also do the architects manual architects. It's one of the recommended reading items. Um, I even have gone in work and I have to do a contract. So I'm going to go read what the AI says about a B101 or general conditions, an A201. What do they have to say about it? And it's be curious, immerse yourself in it. Um, make it a game. I received a submittal. What division is a door? It's openings, those kinds of things, and turn it into, be curious, have fun, get involved. And then all the other stuff, all the things that come in from personal life, from work life, from all the things social, it's still there, but it puts it in context. And at this age, you know yourself. You know that when you come home some days, there's no way. You just sit there and you stare at the TV and watch Willy Wonka. Um, so, and just eat dinner and go to bed. It's happens sometimes, but I know when I get home the next day, we're going to be right back at it. So don't quit. Don't give up. That's all I would say.
Great, thank you. I have a lot of questions, but I just want to keep it short. So I'm gonna go to Belly, and I wanted to see so I know you, we work together and, we have the conversations, but I would love you to talk to us about, after taking your licensure. I know that there are some stuff that you're doing with the company, and I would love you to just share more about that with us.
Yeah, of course. After you're done with this grueling process, you want to give back, help people that don't know where to start, because that was one of the things. It's so overwhelming. It's kind of disjointed and a lot of different advice. And in the beginning, you're taking everybody's advice because you don't know what your methods are. So anyway, I just kind of, once I was done, and I realized honestly how much easier it was to get it done later in my career, because now my kids were older, and I started to encourage all the other moms here to do the same. They're all senior PMs with decades of experience that just have to go past these exams, right? So from that, another thing started where NCARB, I just got on the board of advisors, and I attend their monthly meetings where they, like Sean said, they tell you about all the million different ways you can get licensed nowadays. So I became an advisor, and then because our company is we're nationwide, so it was big enough where I can just be the rep for the company. So I'm the Humphrey's official NCARB licensing advisor. And we have about 20 people right now that are testing. But let me take you to the beginning. Nilu and I in 2019, 2018, we didn't have anything. We didn't have like Amber Book or Black Spectacles. Nobody was really talking about it. I'm not saying that, you know, senior staff doesn't always have time to think about the junior staff. So she and I were the first people that kind of pushed for the company getting Black Spectacles. And so I was so happy to see that now 20 people are using it. It's a great program. It's improved a lot too. That was my main thing. Black Spectacles was my main thing for getting ready for these exams. So anyway, so now that I became the licensing advisor, and I specifically go to people that are, you know, moms with grown children. It's like your kids are out of the house. So what are you doing with yourself right now? Are you studying? How about you study? So, but it's true for everybody. So anyway, that's where I took it. I became the advisor for the company. Oh, and my favorite thing was one of the people that started this company, okay, 30 years ago. I'm talking about Walter. He got licensed decades ago, but he never got around to getting his NCARB certificate for whatever reason. And one day he hears that I can help with that. He's like, hey, kind of like, can you help me? How do I do this? He thought it was this huge thing. I'm like, nope, you got $2,000 and you do these 10 steps, you got it. He was so happy. So I got one of the principals certified. Otherwise, who knows? They may not have thought about it. So
That's great.
that's my favorite thing, yeah.
That's awesome. One thing that you mentioned is about like, you know, I wanted to emphasize that if your company is not having anything to offer for the AREs, be the one who asks. They get paid for it. Like, you know, they get reimbursed for it at the end of the year. So don't be shy to say, hey, I heard about this or so, and can you guys help us to get it for the company? By doing that, like, you know, if they get it for the company, any of these materials, they get a huge discount and it's offered to the whole company. So don't be shy. Be the one and just like go for it. It's not everyone else
helps
is
a
gonna
lot.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it helps a lot because these programs are expensive.
Mm-hmm. And I
And
almost did it for all the companies that I've been, and when I leave, they're like, oh, thank you.
that's awesome.
So yeah, do that. Cool, thanks. Okay, Amber. So your story is almost the most perfect one, you know, with like, you know, getting your license in a short time, and you did a fantastic job. And I also heard that you're part of a group that you're hearing like stories and stuff. So I wanted to ask you to share either a personal story or someone else's. So if you could, like, you know, tell us more about the group that you're involved with, that would be great.
The study group that I'm in, which I still attend, it's called the recovery group. So we go to recovery meetings every 2 weeks. And it's really just a check-in on what have you done, what have you read, have you signed up for your next test, or, you know, do you have any questions on things you've studied? And one of my friends that is a professor at one of the universities here, she's in her 60s, and she said, I wanted to be an architect all my life. And she grew up over in Africa, and they told her she couldn't be an architect. So she had to go to school to get a degree in textiles. And she did it. She got married, had 3 kids, and her husband wound up as a professor at A&M. So she went back to school and got her master's in her 40s. And now she's teaching interior design and Revit classes. And she saw me go through my testing and she says, do you think I can do that? Maybe I can do that. I said, look at what you teach every day. Absolutely. You're teaching building envelope. You already know the information. She goes, I thought that dream was dead. There was just a little light. Now it's getting a little brighter at the end of the tunnel down there. So it's never too late, you know. Take them one at a time. Start doing them. Bite off a little bit and find some people that are in the same circumstances you are. Because even if it's just accountability, someone to, hey, did you study this week? Oh, no, man, I had this and this. Okay, well, go again. You know, we'll meet in 2 weeks. Let me know what you do. That's all it takes. And that can make all the difference to people. Having just someone cheering them on in their corner.
I can't agree enough. Yeah, that accountability is just something that we all need. Awesome, thank you. So I know that like some, you know, we all kind of like touched on like, you know, what helped us and, you know, what materials we used. If there is anything else that you could share with this group that helps and, you know, you think you want to talk more about it, is there anything that you want to add to?
I have something to add. It's very important to have somebody. So when you're at work, you're in a collection of people striving for the same common cause. You aren't necessarily friends. You develop professional relationships, professional friendships as people move around, and you grow. Use those professional friendships that you have with people and talk to them about this. It helps you become so much more aware of and introspective of yourself, and it makes your ability to take the test that much easier once you understand about yourself and you're able to talk to somebody else that's non-judgmental, does not pull any punches, but also says, yeah, no, I went through the same thing. Whether it's a study group or whomever it is, it's very important to have that touch point.
Yes. That's great. Okay, thank you. I would love to ask if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and
Hey, Nilu, you do
Yes.
have a couple questions in chat.
oh, I do?
Yep.
I forgot to check. Oh, right. Okay. So Michael is asking, for those of you who studied while they raised children, how did you balance both of those competing priorities? That's hard. I
That's
can tell.
really hard. And I'm not a good person to answer this because I made the choice not to do it while they were little. I waited till they were older. So
I can
that doesn't mean
actually
you have to do that.
I can actually relate to that. And so when I started like studying, my son was little, he was 8. And I have pictures that I am taking him to the park with his friends. I have contracts in front of me. So like, you know, there's a contract and he's on the background. I'm taking him to the pool, the same thing. I'm taking him to, you know, all these like activities. And I was always guilty, but you know, I had to find a way to make him happy and make myself happy. And you know, they appreciated. One thing that really paid all those off was I took him to, and he just turned 17. That's so embarrassing. He just turned 17 like, you know, last week. But I took him to check up to his doctor, who was like, you know, seeing us like, you know, I'm studying, going to school and all those things, like while seeing him. And he was telling his doctor that I'm really proud of my mom. She worked hard, but she finished it. So, you know, that's a payoff. So it's really valuable.
That's another thing. They see your success story appreciated better if they're older. I mean, they saw me come home and cry and like bring me candy to make me feel better. And they also saw me jumping up and down when I was done. So it's like, you guys see, failing is okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Going. So they kind of took that upon, you
We
know.
call it a practice. It's not a fail, it's a practice test.
Yes.
Mhm.
Brenda Della, the one I was talking about, she actually studied for her test when her kids were of that age, and she celebrated it and shared with her children. It became study time, so they actually learned good habits from her, and they consoled each other when they did bad or when they did well. And she actually gets teary-eyed about it because they now are getting ready to go to college, and they still talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not a bad thing. If you can manage it and have them be a part of your process, it's a beautiful thing for them to see their parent being um, busy and trying something really hard and succeeding at it. I think it affected my daughter. My daughter's graduating from college in 3 months. And I feel like I think it affected her seeing it because she was a little older. She was going through high school. We went through the pandemic together. She really took it to heart when I failed. It was to the point that there was one time I failed and I was like, I'm not going to tell her. I'm going to say I didn't see I don't know. Sorry. I didn't have the heart to tell her I failed. So
They're so resilient, though.
they
They
are.
they help you. They say, "Oh, I'm gonna come and help." It's great.
Yeah.
It's so true. I was sometimes like very embarrassed to say I failed again, and I kind of like stopped saying it. And then one time he's like, "Are you even studying anymore?" And I'm like, "No, I failed." And he hugged me and he's like, "It's okay, Mom. It doesn't matter if you fail or not. I still love you." And those moments help you so much to just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
true. Parenting is really hard when you're taking your licensure and you have a full-time job also. And that's why on the comment section I said it's everything, everywhere, all at once. And
Yeah.
things do happen on the same day. And I don't know how that happens. It's Murphy's Law or something. But there was a day in my licensure journey when I had to attend a big meeting, and in the morning I went to test, finished my test, and went to the lunch meeting and the meeting that followed. But by the time I reached there, all they had was just cookies left, and I didn't have time to get out and get my lunch, so I filled up on cookies. And in the next 10 minutes, my daughter called. She was, I think, 8 years old then, and she was home with her sister. So she calls me and she said something about microwaving something from the fridge and eating. And I was not present for that call. My whole mind was in the meeting that I was in and the tiredness from the test and all that. I said, yeah, go ahead. I went home at 6. The whole house was reeking of fish. She had called me to ask, can I microwave fish? And I had said yes. So there are things like that, and it will happen. And I did cry that day and took it easy. I think that's why we all have our partners to lean on and make them our partners in our licensure journey as well, because there is no way you can do this alone. You need a trusted partner to take care of your kids. And even at work, when you're testing, I feel like letting people around me know that I'm testing helped so much because they would help me pick up the small things and not stress me out too much going into the test. So find your partners everywhere, lean on them, and don't be shy to be vulnerable. It's fine. They will help you, you will help them. It's all the synergy that you can bring to work. So go ahead and do that, but get your licensure.
100%. Yes. I see a lot of great comments on the chat. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your time to spend with us and listen to us. And thanks for sharing your stories on the chat. I see like, hard times that you will face while you're doing this. Just remember that this is gonna finish and you're gonna just like move forward and you're gonna just be done with it. So the light is there at the end of the tunnel and you'll get there.
And it's never too late. It's never,
Yes.
like I said, I don't know how old you guys are, but I had a guy in his 60s in one of my groups, and it was because the partner had said, okay, if you want to inherit this company, get licensed. So he did. 60 is not too late either. So
And a
get
lot
it
of the
done.
programs like Black Spectacle and Amber Books are pulling in a diverse crowd of new and emerging architects who, when they're on, are no longer the dry, monotone person that I first saw
Yes.
when I got into Black Spectacle. And you could tell that they're excited, and the variety of people and faces are great.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they improved it so much. They don't give, yeah. You know what happened was Amber Book came out and became a huge competitor to Black Spectacles, and all of a sudden all the firms were switching to Amber, and they took it up a notch and they became really good. And I think they're equal strength now, both programs. Very good program.
Yeah, and if you have gone to school or you're licensed abroad, NCARB wants to get you licensed. They want to get you in front of the testing or whatever you need to do to be able to do that. Online in NCARB, there's a path for you. You may not think so, but there's a path, and it's easier than you think it is. So don't give up. Ask. Somebody will help.
Very true.
All right, so I don't see any more questions. And we have like 3 more minutes left. Is there anything else that you guys want to add into the conversation?
I see somebody did it with 5 kids, not recommended, Frederick says. No. Wow, that's impressive. I do hear these stories. There was somebody on the Facebook group with a newborn that was passing. I don't know how people do it, but some people do it. I'm just saying, find
Yeah.
what works for you. Yeah.
Like leading the study groups and being with a lot of people, like, studying, I saw a lot of like amazing people with all these things that they had to juggle with, but they still like, finished it, and they were like, trying to be there in these study groups whenever we had it. I was just like, you are amazing. If you're doing it, I should not say anything. So you guys are amazing. And another thing is, if you're more experienced in your mid-careers, believe me, people in the study group are like just dying to have someone like that to ask questions. So like, be available, share your experience, and I can't say how much we loved to have someone experienced in our group. So please do it. Help yourself and help everybody, and you're gonna be done soon.
Finish line.
Yeah.
I shared the links that I was talking about for NCARB. So
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
yeah.
So Meghna.
I think we're right on time. This was a great event. Thank you all for sharing your stories.
Thanks for putting this together. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.